What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Cam ATL. Shout out to the DFS squad. Shout out to everybody watching this video right now. Drop a like down below because I already know you're gonna love it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure you comment anything down in the comment section to enter your name into the $50 giveaway that I do every single week on this channel. As you guys know, earlier on in the week, we did the first look lineup where we just kind of talk about the guys we're putting in the lineup. We built a lineup together. Just our first gut reaction of the slate. And then today, Friday, we go through and we go position by position and talk about the guys we're interested in, why we're interested in them, and we talk about a lot more guys. All right, so I'm not going to hold up too much of your time. Greenlightdfs.com to join the squad. Remember, if you join the squad for the NFL weekend package before Saturday, you will also get college football. If you're in a state where you can play college football, you get that added on. All right, now let's go ahead and get it, man. Starting off at quarterback. My number one quarterback of the slate, projection-wise, personally, is Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary that has been atrocious all year. They are very, very bad. The only thing that worries me a little bit with Russell Wilson is that he doesn't have to throw too much. This team is run first. They really don't want to be the type of team to throw a bunch of times. Like, what bothers me a lot is his pass attempts. Okay, like only 20 pass attempts, only 14 completions last week against Atlanta, which was an amazing matchup in a dome. Okay, but now he is at home going against Tampa Bay that is equally as bad as Atlanta. They're bad. People might be off of him because he sucked versus Atlanta and they were really dependent on him and he was in a great matchup. At the end of the day, once again, this could be a lot of Chris Carson. Okay, but I do expect Russell Wilson to still be a solid option against Tampa Bay. He's completely fine against them for sure. All right, next up, Matthew Stafford at 6'8", going against Oakland. I talked about him already. Stafford has been look at the difference in attempts and completions compared to Russell Wilson. He attempts so many passes every game that it makes his floor really, really solid. Okay, he just throws the ball so much. Okay, now without Kerryon Johnson, they have Ty Johnson back there, who's not that great. Okay, so they're even less of a run type team now that Kerryon's gone. So now they're just going to throw it a ton. And now they get a really good matchup against the league's worst secondary in Oakland. Okay? Oakland is a very bad secondary. This offense has been playing a lot better, though, for Oakland, which is good news because we want this game to stay competitive. Now, Detroit's not the best team in the world by no means. Their offense is super powered, though. They can really score a lot of points. And we're really hoping Oakland can keep it close. The fact that Oakland is at home, I definitely love Matthew Stafford at 6'8". Okay? Next up, I talked about liking Russell Wilson. I love Jameis Winston as well. All right? Jameis has had a sneaky, consistent year outside of week 1 against the very tough San Francisco defense. 13, not that good, but 29, 33, the 21 against Carolina, 26 against Tennessee. Now he's going against Seattle that has not been good defensively. This is not the Legion of Doom that we remember from years back, okay, when they had Richard Sherman and all that. This is not the same defense. They are not good defensively, all right? And it's a great matchup for Jameis Winston. In GPPs, I think Jameis is a very sneaky option here against Seattle. A guy that I'm really, really strongly considering is Derek Carr on the other side of that game with Matthew Stafford, okay? He's at home in Oakland. Like I said, they've been playing a lot better lately. The last 2 games, Carr has been really, really good on the road. 17 and 23 the last 2 games. He's almost thrown for 300 yards, a total of 5 touchdowns, only 1 pick. He's been playing very, very solid. Now he's going against a Detroit defense that is nothing special. He's at home in Oakland. And I really love Derek Carr, man. And at that price of 5.5, it's really hard not to have a lot of exposure to him because 5.5 is just such a good price. Another guy that I really, really like due to price is Phillip Rivers at 5.1. Okay. Now I know last week he had a down week, but it was at Chicago. Okay. But before that, 24, 20, he had a few 23s, a 27 to open the year. This dude is a solid quarterback. Okay. Period. Now Green Bay's defense secondary wise has been solid, but Phillip Rivers at only 5'1" seems criminal, okay? He's got some serious weapons. Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen. Now they've got Melvin Gordon back there too. Like, they've just got some good weapons in this offense, and this team can be very good offensively. I know Green Bay has been solid. Don't get me wrong, but I'm literally just looking at price. 5'1" seems too cheap for Phillip Rivers. I have him and Derek Carr extremely close on my rankings, and Phillip Rivers might beat him out in a few lineups for sure for $400 less. Definitely if you're pairing with Keenan Allen for sure. Another guy that I like on the other side of that game is going to be Aaron Rodgers at 6'9". Now, not many people are going to be on Aaron Rodgers. The last 2 weeks, he has been phenomenal. Okay, this dude has 8 touchdowns the last 2 games, 46 and 30 Draftkings points the last 2. Now he's going against the Chargers defense, which is nothing special. All right, and like I said, I think the Chargers offense is going to be able to score against Green Bay because I like Phillip Rivers. And I think Aaron Rodgers is a very nice GPP option on this slate for sure. All right, outside of that, there's not a whole lot of guys I love. There's a little bit of risky guys. Like, I don't want to pay 5'9" for Sam Darnold when I can get Derek Carr for 5'5" or Phillip Rivers for 5'1". Okay, it just doesn't make much sense to me. It is a great matchup against Miami, but this could really be a Le'Veon Bell. Like I talked about in the first look, could really be a very heavy Le'Veon Bell game right here. Okay, I would not be surprised at all. All right, other guys. Another guy that is interesting is, if I can find him, where is he? I skipped over him. Here, let me. Josh Allen at 6'5", at home in Buffalo going against Washington. This Washington defense has been horrible this year. They have not been good at all. And what I like about Josh Allen is he has a very solid floor due to his rushing ability. Okay, this dude can rush for about 50 yards. Well, he's going to rush on average for right around 50 yards. And against Washington, the matchup is just there, man. The only thing you worry about all the time with Allen is they really have to be facing a team that's going to really put up a good fight. You know what I mean? And make him throw and make him have to finesse his way to fantasy points. Okay, against Washington with Haskins most likely starting, it's a little bit risky, okay? But in GPP with his rushing ability, if he's able to throw some touchdowns, run in a few, he could have a huge game. So I wanted to mention him at 6'5". All right, now let's talk about some value options. All right, now I already talked about Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr, but another guy that's interesting to me is Matt Moore for Kansas City. Okay, he came in and looked really good against Green Bay last week, and this is another reason why I like Phillip Rivers this week. Okay, because Phillip Rivers is in this same matchup that Matt Moore just threw for 267 yards against with 2 touchdowns and 19 DraftKings points. And Phillip Rivers is only $300 more than Matt Moore. Matt Moore is a solid, cheap option, but he's facing a tough defense in Minnesota. He is at home in Kansas City, but like I said, he's facing a toughish defense in Minnesota, where Phillip Rivers facing a Green Bay defense that just gave up 19 DraftKings points to this man right here. And this man is not Phillip Rivers at all or even close. Okay? So that's another reason I like Phillip Rivers. There you go. Anybody else that I want to mention? Let's mention one more guy. I want to mention Ryan Fitzpatrick at 4'8". Okay? He is going to be the starting quarterback here against the Jets. The last 2 weeks he's been solid. And at 4'8", he's another value guy. So, I mean, you got Matt Moore, Derek Carr, Phillip Rivers, Ryan Fitzpatrick. These guys are solid options at the quarterback position this week if you want to spend up elsewhere. If you decide that if you want your build to be spending down at quarterback, which most of the time people will, unless there's just a ridiculous matchup up top and the guy's going for 40 on average. You know what I mean? And he's just ridiculous. Most of the time, the right way to go is kind of the mid-range-ish area and then get the spend ups in the wide receiver running back positions. All right. So I am kind of leaning at this moment, going like a Phillip Rivers or Derek Carr. Those are my 2 favorite spend down guys. Those are the 2 guys I'm really interested in on this slate. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, Matt Moore, they're decent options as well for GPPs at 4'8". And one more guy for GPPs only, okay, is Brandon Allen. Now the thing is, Brandon Allen will be starting for Joe Flacco. Okay, but like I said in the first look lineup, I really love Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman in this game. I think they're going to run a ton at home in Denver against Cleveland. And Cleveland's defense has been struggling against the run. So it's a weak spot in their defense. Okay, and they're just going to have to run pretty much. I mean, yes, Cleveland could stack the box and make this dude throw against them, which is what seems so obvious like the game plan should be. Stack the box, make them throw with this dude. Okay, but who knows? Okay, at the end of the day, this dude's only 4-1. He's super cheap, almost free. If you want to try him out in GPP, if you want to really spend up for some big opportunities, then he's fine. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about running backs. Now, my favorite running back by far on my ranking system is Christian McCaffrey. Anybody's ranking system, let's be real, okay? But I have him like a full 7 points higher than the second best running back on the slate. Okay? He is way up there. I love Christian McCaffrey at home in Carolina, going against Tennessee. It's just a great spot here in this one. Okay? The Titans have done an okay job at defending the run this year. But they have allowed one of the, I believe it's top 3 in the league at catches to running backs. Okay, you know how I always talk about how Atlanta gives a whole bunch of catches to running backs. So you want those pass-catching backs against Atlanta. Okay, this is the same type of situation here. The Titans are bottom in the league at allowing a ton of catches to running backs this season, and Christian McCaffrey is the best to do it. Probably one of the best to ever do it when it comes to receiving out of the backfield. Okay, so Christian McCaffrey, I know 10,000 is crazy high, but like I said, I'm planning on going kind of a lowish quarterback, so it should be doable to get Christian McCaffrey at 10,000. And I mean, the dude's going to get 30 plus. Okay, let's just be honest. He's going to get 30 plus, and he has the potential of 50 like he's shown this year. Okay, so plain and simple, if Carolina is able to keep this game close, Christian McCaffrey is going to get a ton of run on the ground. If they fall behind and Tennessee gets up somehow in Carolina, then McCaffrey's going to get exposure in the pass game, okay? It's just with Kyle Allen behind center, he's doing a lot of little dump-offs to McCaffrey, and he's getting a lot of catches in this offense. So at the end of the day, Christian McCaffrey's a great option here against Tennessee. Like I said, the main focal point that makes me love McCaffrey the most is seeing how low the Titans are in the league when it comes to allowing running back catches. They have been allowing the second or third most in the league. I don't know exactly at this moment, but second or third most in the entire league. Okay, so a pass-catching back like McCaffrey can do serious damage through the air against this team. Okay, now another guy I want to talk about obviously is Dalvin Cook. Okay, Kansas City's defense is not good. Okay, all around. Their secondary, their line, it doesn't matter. They are not good defensively. Okay, the problem is Dalvin Cook is only $500 less than Christian McCaffrey. And at the end of the day, full point PPR, I got to go my boy Christian McCaffrey for only $500 more. All right. Now we have a huge drop off, a very solid drop off of almost $2,000, $1,800 down to the next level. Le'Veon Bell. I've talked about him multiple times. I love this dude this week. Against Miami, bad defense. Okay. Sam Darnold, I'm not expecting to have to do much in this, okay? I am expecting the Jets to run it a ton with Le'Veon Bell. He is up there in the league when it comes to how many touches he gets in this offense, okay? He is one of the most highest used running backs in the entire league behind McCaffrey and Fournette, okay? So Le'Veon Bell is 7-7. Love him. Don't need to talk too much about him. I talked about him in the first look. Nick Chubb is another great option at 7-3. Very solid option because Denver for years has struggled to stop the run game. Okay, they have struggled against the run for a while. Remember when they had Talib and Chris Harris and that secondary was really, really good. Teams were running all over them. Okay, and that's really the case. I mean, running backs have still been doing good against Denver. So Nick Chubb in this matchup, I think this is going to be Cleveland could either get up big and use a ton of Nick Chubb, or it could be a low scoring, just run the ball game from both sides. Okay, but either way, I see a lot of running going on, period, for Nick Chubb. So really, really love him a lot. Another guy that we should talk about, we should take a look at this. Okay, now, Aaron Jones is a little hobbled, dealing with a little bit of an issue with his shoulder, but he did practice, okay? And that's a good sign. Most likely he will be out there in this matchup against the Chargers. I'm not going to play him. I don't really like going after guys who barely get in practices throughout the week. And, I mean, it's not super ideal anyways, to be honest with you. I just don't love Aaron Jones at this time. Now, a guy that I really, really like and I want to mention is Marc Walton from Miami, okay? Now, he hasn't really taken over the starting job yet, okay? Only 11 carries and 14 carries the last 2 weeks. We know Kenyon Drake is gone now. But Marc Walton is the guy that I think they really want to get going, okay? And I really love him here against the Jets in this one. He's only 4-5. He is super, super cheap. That is the reason I'm talking about him right now, okay? Marc Walton is super, super cheap. Only 4-5. And like I said, Miami wants to get him involved, okay? And I think he is the best running back on this roster, okay? It's not Balaj. I think it's Marc Walton, okay? So focus on Marc Walton. If you want a cheap spend down, 4-5 is a great option for Walton. Obviously, I talked about how much I love that Denver running game. Phillip Lindsay is still high up on my list of plays this week. It's an amazing matchup against Cleveland. They're without their starting quarterback. They're going to be relying heavily on these running backs. Royce Freeman and Phillip Lindsay are the two. I mean, they're going to get so much work in this game. They're not trying to get this guy to throw the ball a whole bunch with Flacco out. So expect them to run a ton. And like I said, this game, there's two ways to go. Cleveland could get up big and run a whole bunch of Nick Chubb, and Denver have to start dumping it off to Lindsay a whole lot for this young quarterback to just dump it off real quick. Or the game stays low and they run it anyway, both teams. Okay, so honestly, Phillip Lindsay is an amazing option, and I'm still all over him. I definitely love him. Okay, another guy to keep in mind as well is Austin Eckler. I mean, this is still second behind Keenan Allen in Rivers' favorite target on this offense. Okay, like this dude gets targets in the pass game. Okay, now he only got 3 targets last week, which is very disappointing. But Chicago's defense is really solid. And I understand Melvin Gordon is back, so a lot of people really don't want to mess with this. But remember, this dude is a very good receiver out of the backfield, and it could be a great spot with him if you want to pair him up with Phillip Rivers, maybe in GPP. Not many people are going to go this route. And obviously, I've talked about multiple running backs that I like much more than him. Because Eckler's 5,000, I would still much rather, I'd rather go Phillip Lindsay right there. I would rather spend up and obviously go Le'Veon Bell or Nick Chubb there as well, obviously. So I'm not going much Austin Eckler, but I wanted to mention him because I love Rivers. I think Rivers has a good game, and if I think Rivers has a good game, you got to expect Eckler to get some passes in that pass game, possibly get in the end zone as well. All right. There's not a whole lot more running backs that I'm super interested in. I do want to talk about Chris Carson. I mentioned when I talk about Russell Wilson that this team loves to run the ball. Okay. They love to run the ball. This dude gets 20-plus touches every game on the ground. Okay? Now he's going against Tampa Bay. This defense is not good. Period. And I think Seattle should easily be able to get up and win this game in Seattle. And that's going to be a lot of Chris Carson. So expect Chris Carson to have another great game at home in Seattle. Let's talk about a few more guys. Josh Jacobs is another solid option. He's been limited all week, but the fact that he's even limited is a good sign. We'll keep an eye on it, obviously, but I am expecting him to play. I like him a lot in this matchup against Detroit, okay? I definitely like him in this matchup against Detroit. I don't love that he's 6'5", because once again, Lindsay is over $1,000, $1,200 cheaper, okay? But Jacobs has been getting a lot of run in this offense, and it is a solid matchup against Detroit here at home in Oakland. So he is a solid option at 6'5". All right, and don't sleep on Marc Walton either. Let me mention that name again. The dude's only 4'5". Okay, I have him ranked like right around Phillip Lindsay. He's not far away. Okay, so Marc Walton is a solid option this week. I just want to reiterate that one more time. Let's talk about one more guy, and I want to talk about James Conner. Okay, he has been missing practice. Okay, him and Benny Snell have both been missing practice. So what that would mean is it's going to be a big uptick if these guys miss for Jalen Samuels. Jalen Samuels becomes an amazing play if James Conner misses, okay? Let's go ahead. $4,000. Okay, Samuels is fine. He's going to play. But you have Snell and Connor who are sitting out of practices all week and struggling to even get out there. If they miss, Jalen Samuels is going to be an amazing option. Let me just go to repeat that for the 20th time for you guys, okay? So I love Jalen Samuels. Don't sleep on that. Make sure you catch that value if that does indeed happen. Hopefully it flies under the radar, but I definitely like him if those guys miss, okay? Now, let's talk about wide receivers. I'm going to move a little quicker. I feel like I've been taking forever. Now, a receiver that I really like that I didn't talk about in my first look lineup that I'm really liking these Tampa Bay receivers, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I'm leaning Chris Godwin. I think this is one of the better games for him because this defense loves to run zone, and that's where Godwin really picks defenses off in that defensive formation. So I really think that Godwin is an amazing spot here. And like I said, I think Seattle gets up. I think Tampa Bay is going to have to air it out a bunch, which is partly why I like Winston. All right, so Chris Godwin, don't be surprised if he has a big day here. I mean, he got 8 targets last week, only 43 yards. Expect a big change in that. Mike Evans had the big game last week. Expect this week to be Godwin. I think that he is going to be a great play, but I like him and Evans right around equally. So I got Godwin slightly ahead, though. I would prefer Godwin this week. All right. Another guy, obviously, I talked about Phillip Rivers. Keenan Allen is his guy. Okay, period. And we don't have to deal with any of that shit that we dealt with last week, thinking he might possibly miss and not being 100% sure if he's going to play or not. News was coming out saying that, if he plays, he's going to be severely limited. Wasn't really the case. The dude still got 10 targets last week. Okay? He was on the field for 31 of the team's 45 snaps. Okay, so he was not severely limited at all. Okay, but he is much better now. He's going to be on the field a ton. And at 6'4", at home in Los Angeles, definitely love him as a pair-up with Phillip Rivers if you decide to go that route. All right. Now, I talked about liking Matthew Stafford. The only thing I'm not liking about Golladay here, and it's really probably going to keep me off of him a lot, is that 7-7 price tag, man. 7-7 is a little out of my price range for a guy like Golladay who can literally disappear sometimes. Okay? That's the only thing. Now, yes, could he have a huge game against Oakland's weak-ass secondary? 100%. But don't be surprised if he drops you a dud or gets you under 10. And at 7-7, you don't want that. Okay? I would probably rather Tyler Lockett. I would probably rather Odell. I would probably rather even Marvin Jones for $1,700 less, okay? Other guys that I'm interested in, Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen was still limited. If he plays, I really like him against this Kansas City defense, though, okay? He hasn't been practicing much, but I definitely think he's going to be a great option for GPPs against this Kansas City team. We know what he is capable of. If he's out on the field and he's a full go, then he's amazing against Kansas City. But obviously, we want to keep an eye on that situation. All right? Another guy I want to talk about, a team that's been very good versus the run, but they've struggled versus the pass. Allen Robinson is a solid option against Philly here. Okay? He has his huge games and he has his duds. So we know that's what comes with Allen Robinson. Okay? But it's a solid matchup at Philly, okay? The solid matchup, man. Their secondary is not good. They give it up in the air. They are good against the ground game, so expect Chicago to throw it a lot more here. I don't trust Trubisky, but Allen Robinson is his main guy, and Allen Robinson could have another one of those large games like he's had this year, like 20, 28, 24 type of potential at 6'8". All right, some of the cheap guys that I like. One of the cheap guys that I really like is DJ Moore. He's been getting some good targets in this offense, man. That's the thing that I like the most. I mean, 9, 10, 14, 10, like those are some of the type of games that he has in this offense this year. He's been super solid. They didn't play week 7, but other than that, he's damn near average right around 10 all season. Okay, and he's only 4'8". He seems fairly cheap against Tennessee. So this is a solid spend down spot right here for Matt Moore. Another guy that you can look into is Preston Williams for Miami. I don't know how much. Well, Miami's always having to throw a ton because they're always down. Okay, and Preston Williams has been getting some good targets. The last few games, 7 and 8 targets with Fitzpatrick back there. Okay, Fitzmagic is getting Preston Williams the ball. And at 4.2, he's another cheap option that is really, really good. And the other Carolina receiver, Curtis Samuel, is another spend down guy that you can look at too at 4.3. I really like him too. He's a solid spend down as well. So him and DJ Moore are solid options. All right. Now, this is criminal to me, man. And I hate seeing this. I know he hasn't had a great year, and I know he's limited in practice, but I just want to mention if he plays. At 4.5, man. Like, this dude, I know Odell is taken away from him. The dude still got 10 targets last week. He's had like 3 games that he almost got 10 targets in the offense. As you see, week 4 at Baltimore, 27 points. That's the type of potential he has when defenses are focused in on Odell Beckham Jr. So if he plays, keep an eye on it. If Jarvis misses, that bumps up Odell. I love me some Odell. That Denver has some solid corners. But I love me some, Chris Harris. I'm not going to say solid corners, but Harris is a really solid cornerback. But Odell is still going to finesse him. He's going to get a ton of targets in the pass game if Landry misses. This is a dude who averages 7+ targets in this offense, and without him, that's got to go somewhere. So either they're going to run it more or they're going to throw it to Odell. Either way, Odell's a great option. He gets an uptick for sure if Jarvis Landry ends up missing. Anybody else down here? I do think that Alshon Jeffrey is a cheap price. Now, obviously, this is a tough matchup, and this is GPP. Like, I wouldn't trust this in cash games. But Alshon Jeffrey always has that potential to get that end zone target and get in the end zone. And at 5,000, he's a decent option for GPPs only. I talked about this dude in the first look, man. And I'm really hoping he stays lowish owned. Y'all don't tell nobody. All right, just y'all. Don't go and tell anybody, your friends or nothing, about Danny Amendola. Let's keep his ownership as low as we possibly can. Other than the probably 5,000 plus people who are going to watch this video. Y'all don't tell nobody else. All right, period. Danny Amendola has been getting some good targets, man. The last 2 games especially. 11 and 8 targets the last 2 games. I'm hoping people sleep on it. I really am praying for it because Oakland's secondary sucks. And Amendola is one of the receivers I am really interested in getting, especially if I end up going Stafford against this Oakland secondary. I definitely want Amendola, and even if I don't have Stafford, Amendola at that price of 4.7 against a horrible secondary where I expect the game to stay close. He's an amazing option. I mean, Stafford's really been relying on him a lot the last 2 weeks, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that keep going and him get right around 8 to 10 targets once again. And against Oakland, he can do some major damage there. All right. Last but not least, another cheap guy that I want to talk about because we know cheap guys run the world, man. You get cheap guys right, you're good. All right. Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley is another guy that's been getting solid targets, 7 and 6 the last 2 weeks, but he's got the upside target range of 13 and 10 as you saw week 4 and week 3. Okay? Going against Washington, this defense is horrible. Okay? Their defense is bad. He's only 4-1, and he has been solid, very consistent this year. His lowest performance was week 5 against Tennessee where he got 5. But outside of that, as you can see on your screen, I mean, the dude's averaged about 10 Draftkings points. At 4.1, he's super cheap, and he gets the targets, so Cole Beasley is another cheap option at 4.1. All right, now let's move on to tight ends real quick. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. At tight end, obviously, Darren Waller is always my dude. Going against Detroit, once again, it's a solid option. Now, what's crazy is the dude got 8 targets and only 11 yards last week. That is ridiculous, okay? Expect him to bounce back in a big way here against Detroit. I do not see him not catching. Like, as you can see, most of the year, he has caught damn near all of his targets. I mean, he had 1 drop week 1. Sorry, it wasn't even a drop, but just incompletion period. Okay, he missed 1 week 1, 1 week 2, 1 week 3, 1 week 4, 1 week 5, 1 week 7. Okay, and then week 8, 6. That's not going to happen. Expected to go back to normal, him to catch majority of his targets that he gets his way, and expect him to have a big day. Because if he catches all 8 of those targets, he's still got in the end zone. And then that's another thing. The last 2 weeks, he's really gotten in the end zone after not having a touchdown the whole beginning of the season, the whole first 5 weeks. And then they went on bye week 6. The coach was like, what are we thinking? We're smoking crack. Let's get Waller end zone targets, and let's get him in the end zone. He's got 3 touchdowns the last 2 games, and he's got crazy amount of targets as well. Okay, this dude's got crazy upside. We've seen him go for 30 twice this year. Darren Waller is 100% my main dude that I like at tight end. All right. Zach Ertz, I talked about in the first look. He just seems too cheap, man, at 4.7. I expect him to bounce back sooner than later. Okay. Waller is the tight end that I want, and I will be trying hard to get Waller in. Okay. Especially if I end up going like a Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr. If I go Derek Carr, I'm definitely pairing with Waller 100%. There's not even a tiny percentage where I don't pair those two together. Okay. And I do love Carr. So, like I said, I'm really trying to get Waller. If I have to go anybody else, it's going to be Zach Ertz at 4.7. Really love him. I like Greg Olsen at 3.5. I like Dallas Goedert at 3.1 because, unlike Zach Ertz, he's been kind of the one getting in the end zone. So he's decent at only 3.1. Travis Kelce and Hunter Henry. I'm not too much on Kelce because we've got the backup quarterback in, but Hunter Henry, I already talked about loving Phillip Rivers. He's a great pairing with Rivers, but for only 300 more, Darren Waller. So let me just say it again, Darren Waller. Okay? Darren Waller, Darren Waller, Darren Waller. All right? Now, let's talk about defenses. All right? Because I don't need to spend too much time on tight end. Darren Waller. All right? Now, at defense. Now, it's always really up in the air, man. I mean, if you have a ridiculous matchup on your hands, then sure, go for it. None of the matchups really stick out to me as like, oh my goodness, huge. Maybe Cleveland at 3-1 going against this backup quarterback we don't know much about. Maybe the Titans at only 2-6 against Carolina. That seems like a solid option. When it comes to value, you could even go Washington Redskins for all I care. They're only 1-8. They're pretty much free. They're going against Buffalo in Buffalo. So, yeah, they're going to allow points. But if they can get a few sacks and somehow get to Josh Allen, then they'll be okay. At 1.8, don't expect much. But they're super cheap, man. That's all I'm saying. If you have to spend up, then especially in GPP, you're going for upside. Spend down. Spend down a defense. I mean, look, I understand the Patriots can go for 100 points. Okay? And in that case, if the Patriots are against a horrible defense, then no brainer. Just do it. Okay, but outside of that, there's really nothing that really sticks out to me, man. Maybe the Vikings at 2-7 against Kansas City. Yeah, for value. So, yeah, I'm not loving the options, honestly. I really want the Bills against Washington, probably, with Haskins at quarterback. He's really made a ton of mistakes this year, and I don't see that just dropping off. He's not ready yet. Period. So Buffalo at home is probably the way I really prefer the most if I'm going to spend for a defense at 3.8. All right. And that's it, y'all. Hopefully I was able to answer all the questions you had inside your dome and you were just really hoping I'd answer. I hope I did that for you. Greenlightdfs.com, man. Let's get it. That was the final look. Let's get this money, man. NBA has been smashing as well. If you haven't tried NBA, make sure you play that. Like, if you play DFS and haven't tried NBA DFS, you haven't really played DFS yet. Okay? Period. All right, let's get this money, man. Thank you guys for watching as always.